good night, good evening, good morning, depending on where you are at. Welcome in, welcome in. I hope everybody's having a good day. We're going to give a couple seconds, not too long now, because I want to make sure I tap in and hone in on all the time I can get with my guest tonight, because, she's supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. You know how that goes. Got to grab everything from your guests when you have them. Well, tonight it's exciting. It's International Women's Day. So get your snacks. For those of you celebrating, get some ice cream, get your glass of wine, get your juice. You're listening to the sounds of Calabash, led by Anthony Pierre. I don't own the rights to the music, but I do have permission to play it. I just love it. I just love Calabash. Sometimes I get kind of carried away and forget that I'm supposed to be doing a show. So please tag your friends, share this show with your friends, engage with us, send us your questions. And welcome to the Victory Speaks Show Inspired Conversation Series, where iron sharpens iron. That's you and me sharpening each other. For those of you who don't know me, I am your host, Nicole Waldron, your voice of victory and your mental fitness coach. And people, I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission to inspire you to live a victorious lifestyle. This Inspired Conversation series is just one of the ways that I'll be doing this. You got to tune in to what else did I do, the podcast, and lots of stuff coming up. We have many conversations all the time, good, bad, funny, you name it, we have it. I know I've had a countless of inspired conversations with various people doing wonderful work. And I thought it would be selfish if I didn't share them with you. As they say, sharing is caring. And on this International Women's Day, the theme is choose to challenge. It's something that actually made me Selah, pause. So let us know what you are choosing to challenge in your life today. I'm choosing to challenge myself, and I'm choosing to challenge you on your mental fitness. So let's get right into it. My guest today is a longtime friend. I was trying to remember the years, but I couldn't come back that far. She may not know how much I look up to her. She's just one of these women doing some phenomenal things in this city. She is going to help us end this day with light, love, and truth. I'm going to hopefully do justice to her bio. It's nerve-wracking when you're introducing such a woman who is a media guru. So here goes. Pray for me, people. Fennella Bruce is a veteran television producer and writer. She is now at the helm of the FKB Media Solutions, a media consulting business. Having worked in the field of journalism for over 20 years, Fennella has produced both of Canada's national morning shows, Your Morning and Canada AM. She has been the senior writer and or producer at numerous major market television stations, including CTV News Channel, CTV National, CP24, CityTv, Toronto 1, and BET. She received her graduate degree in journalism from Ryerson University and her Bachelor of Arts from the University of Toronto. For 6 years, she taught media theory at Centennial College. Fennella is the vice president of the board of directors of Dr. Roz's Healing Place. She's a member of the Canadian Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences, the Charity Foundation board member of Women in Film and Television, and she is, to listen here, she is the recipient of the 2020 100 Accomplished Black Canadian Women Award. And I know she didn't put all her accolades here because she's won more than one award. Here's something else about Fennella that she didn't put in her bio for me. She's a phenomenal woman. She's full of compassion. I know she's full of strength, and on so many levels. She's a community advocate. She's always propelling individuals in their purpose and uplifting them. And I look forward to you getting to know her. So we are going to give her a warm welcome, a round of applause. The Victory Speaks round of applause. You're going to show her some hearts and some love. Welcome the phenomenal Fennella Bruce. Yeah. Ba, 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 ba. If Jay
Wow.
was here, I would have him pressing the thing going, ba, ma, ma, ma.
I don't know if I can live up to that intro. I'm just, you might, wow. Okay. Thank you very much, Nicole. That was beautiful. And at some points I'm thinking, who are you talking about? Oh, me.
You, totally you, totally you. So welcome, my dear. How's your International Women's Day going today? Was it hectic?
Yeah, well, I was working all day, so right up until just before I logged on with you, and you're like, "Are you coming?" So it was a busy one. Yes, definitely.
I can only imagine. I don't even know how you do it. I look at your list of clients and I see all the things you're pumping out there, and I'm like, is Fennella sleeping? I hope you're taking time to take care of you.
Oh yes, I do sleep. It's always been a priority with me. Working in modern television, you focus. People ask you about sleep a lot. That you become very focused and very deliberate in your sleep. And I definitely, when I transferred into, transitioned into being an entrepreneur and scheduling my own time, I had to, because you can get into like working all the time. But I had to be very pay attention to setting some boundaries for myself personally, and that okay, we're going to shut it off because it's very easy to just take a
Yeah,
laptop and go into bed
yeah.
and start working from bed, right?
I call it the bed office.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I have a theme for it, the bed office. So, so Fenella, where did you grow up?
yeah, in Canada.
So,
I was born in England, and I came here when I was 4.
wow.
So I think I'm on the other side of saying I grew up in Canada,
Yeah,
like from all my years. Went to school here. I lived in what's now known as Leslieville when I first came to Canada. Actually, first I lived in East York for a few months, and then we bought a house in Leslieville, and then I moved up to Scarborough when I was 12, and I lived in Scarborough for most of my teenage adult life, and now I'm further east from there.
what do you like? What did you like most about growing up in Canada?
Well, I had a very great childhood. Like I have very fond memories of my neighborhood. We all kind of, it was like a sort of ragtag of kids, of immigrant kids. So I had Asian friends across the street. I had black friends on different. It was like the whole block. Like it was different
Right.
blocks, but we all would come together on one street and we play hide and go, jump seat. You know what I'm talking about. Some other people
Yeah,
don't know those
yeah,
days.
yeah.
Everybody had a veranda, right? So we had a porch, and so you could hang out on someone's porch until this, and then we had to be home by the time the street lights came on. And
Right.
it was a lot of fun. And we were sort of close enough to downtown that we went downtown. It was
Yeah.
like a streetcar ride, so I had that experience where I was very familiar with Young Street and the stores down there and hanging out down there. And roller skating. We used to roller skate, ice skating. Like I did everything. My parents had me in everything: tap, jazz, ballet. There was
Wow.
a list of. I mean, they didn't last long.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, anything that I claimed that I wanted to do, a piano, like they encouraged me, and I gave it a try, and I kind of transfer that to my own kids where when they wanted to do something I would say okay, even if you didn't like it you had to finish it whatever session is, and then we could try something else. So I didn't feel like, oh, you had to do this for the rest of your life. But I think it's good to have those experiences, definitely, and it builds your confidence. And if you're playing sports, it helps you work in a team. All
Hmm.
those sort of things I think are important as a kid growing up. So I had a great time downtown, and then when I moved up to Scarborough, it was more fun times. And I moved into what's now known as Malvern, but when I was there, it was farm, so there wasn't a whole lot going on. But we also had like a tight knit group of people that I still, my brother especially, we're still friends with today. We still hang out. We still connect with them, and so I have to say, like I had, this was not without its issues, but
Yeah, yeah.
overall, it was a great. I had a great childhood.
I love it. I love to hear the stories of those of you who grew up in Canada because I know it's a very different experience for those who came into Canada. Like I came in when I was like 19, though I feel like I've been here. I'm still 19 my whole life. I just want to say thank you to everyone who's joined in. Look at you see, Happy International Women's Day. I gotta give a shout out to Sarah Oyango.
Hi,
Uh,
Sarah.
she's giving us our flowers, and we're giving you your flowers today, Sarah. Sarah's always tuned in, totally always tuned in. So with International Women's Day being today, and I'm so glad it's a week and then it's a month. But this theme of choose the challenge.
Mhm.
What are you choosing the challenge to be? Have you thought about that today?
I thought about it for about 60 seconds. And then when I started working, I did see it on my IG feed, and I was like, oh, what is this about? And I just I didn't really get to focus too much on it. But I mean, if I'm going to choose to challenge something, I think I would challenge people to, and myself, to not let everything that happened last year be in vain.
Ooh.
That to continue it, right? And it's not, a trend, it's not a hashtag, it's not a moment,
Hmm.
but it's something that has to continue indefinitely. So there's a lot of things that people are starting up. There's a lot of money that's being thrown around. There's a lot of, you know,
Yeah.
goodwill. I did a blog actually. I do a blog every month, and the one that I wrote about was, Black History Month, and I mean, there was every time you turn on, there was a
Yeah.
story for
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
the community. But there was two things for me. That number one, clearly there are a lot of stories about our community that can be talked about anytime,
Hmm.
and I hope that it continues after February.
Yep.
Secondly, a lot, I would say 90% of the stories weren't necessarily Black History Month stories. They were
Hmm.
stories that could be told any time of the year.
Yeah.
So we don't need to just shove them into 1 month. Like, let's revisit some of those stories and see how those people, have progressed, or how their business is doing, or let's invite back on that expert that fit, what you're trying to do that month and any other time of the year to talk about their expertise. So, that's what I hope, that we continue and not just say, okay, you know, um, we did our part and now let's go back to how it was.
I really like that. And I really like the go back and let's see and really spread the stories across. And I encourage anybody who's listening, and especially if you're connected to the media or the people who are influencers, that we make sure that we do that ourselves and spread the Black History. I kind of like to say Black History Month is the launch of us really sharing who we are, what we do. I mean, it's good to see. I know the comments we've been making have been like, all of a sudden we're seeing that we're doing laundry in commercials, and being seen as regular folk all of a sudden, so that's really good to see. Now for women, and women like yourself, and you're out there doing your thing, a mom, an entrepreneur, what is a message you would have in addition to what you just said, as we move into this new phase of our lives in 2021, where the whole world has been affected?
Well, I would have two messages. Number one, whatever it is that you want to do, or you think you want to do, or you're thinking about doing, do it. Because in a second, life, the world, everything can change. So I encourage people, one of my clients, as you know, Nicole, is a Black Diamond Ball. And that was like the last event socially that I went to. That I saw a lot of people, I go every year. So a lot of people I saw, friends, had a great time, not knowing that would be the last time that I would physically see these people or be around them or be in a
Right.
social setting, right? And so I don't know that, well, there may be one or two things I would have done differently, but I had a great time. And I'm glad I was able to have that great time, because now I don't know when again we'll be able to do that.
Yeah.
So I would say, definitely, if there's something that you want to do, that you're thinking about doing, do it now.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Tomorrow's not promised. Tomorrow, not even later today, is promised. So what's a fun fact about Fennella that no one really knows?
Well, if I tell you,
Now you want to know. Listen, it's just me and you here. Forget the rest of whoever's listening out there. What's a fun fact about Fennella? I know I don't know everything about you, but
a fun fact about me that no one knows. Okay, well, my kids know. But I tell you, I have some very strange television tastes that people would probably be surprised about.
okay, I'm curious now.
So I think I've seen like every episode and generation of like Degrassi.
Okay.
So I watched it, like I watched it now. Like I've watched it. I
Yeah.
watch it now. It's on ABC Sparks, so it's on in the evening. So and I like that series. I watch and rewatch Gilmore Girls. That's another one that people are kind of surprised about that I'm into. So I give you those two, Nicole, and take those to the grave.
Okay, I'll take it to the grave. Listen. Sometimes you have to watch a show to relax. I'll tell you. I won't leave you out in the wilderness by yourself. I had my little niece and nephew laughing at me, and they're like 6 and 8, laughing at me, and they were like, "What are you watching, Auntie?" The Flying Nun. I don't know if you remember that show. It's back
Okay.
on, and I'm like, "Yeah, there's nothing big, deep. I just need the Flying Nun. It's a fun joke, and that's my go-to joke of the day." So who
Mhm.
inspires you in this season of your life?
Who inspires me?
Yep.
Well, I would say who continues to inspire me is definitely my parents.
Mm,
Uh, they have always been an inspiration to me. And I'm blessed and lucky that they're still very much in my life and they're here. And so I know because I have a lot of friends who don't have their parents
yeah.
around.
Yeah.
And so I do definitely, value that fact. But, I think about, my parents and um, if you really sit, like, and anybody, I challenge you to really sit down because sometimes people tell you to do this with your grandparents, but do this with your parents and sit down and think about, particularly if you have carrying parents, what they did. Because my mother, my parents are from Guyana, and
Right.
my mother left home at about 18 or 19 and went to England to do nursing.
Mm,
So think about that. Like, her sister was there, didn't know anybody else there. You're going to this strange country, first time out of your country, right? Immersed into, you've grown up with just Black people and now you're going into a whole like different world, right? And, not knowing what you're going to be facing, right? My father, same thing. My parents met in England, right? And then once, they were married and I had myself and my brother and, there was at the time, and as we saw last night, there's a lot of racism in the UK. And, my father felt it wasn't a good place to raise us. And he was also having his own experiences in terms of employment and stuff with racism. And so then they made a second decision to move to a whole new country, a young family, a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, and pick up and move to a new country and put down roots and start fresh there, right? I can't imagine like doing those things, right? And navigating an education system,
mm.
employment, housing, and this is in the 70s where it's very different from what's happening now.
No, totally.
And so I look at those stories, right, and the things that they had to do,
Mm,
and trying to raise my brother and I, and working and building a foundation, and I have so much respect for that. And so I certainly patterned a lot of my behavior in terms of parenting and
right.
in terms of finances and housing and future on what my parents did. And anybody who asks me, what is, like your success, my success comes from there. My father was very, very big on education, hammered that home to myself and my brother, and was very involved with the schools, was down there, was questioning
Right.
teachers, was in there, asking at every parent-teacher meeting, he was there, right? And wouldn't just take things for what they were said, but question back, right? And was an advocate for us. And strive the importance of us, going to school. And my brother is he's a chartered accountant. He's a financial analyst for Nike. So we both, took the education route, right, and listened to our parents, and got to where we
Yeah.
eventually got to because of that. And so I think that people look around to all these different people, and I'm not knocking them on TV and in politics or whatever, but you can look around yourself, right? And I say this to my children as well, like my cousins, my aunts, they're all very established people, hardworking, came with some, came with nothing. Their kids have gone to school and are professionals now.
Mm-hmm.
Those are your role models. Those are people you can touch. Those are people you can talk to, you can interact with, who can help you, in life, right? So those are the people that I think you have to sort of look or gravitate towards.
See, this is one of the reasons I love you. You're so practical, ingenious, and you're true to who you are. And this really solidifies, the foundation of where all this that you do, your job, and how you just approach people and how you approach life. And it's such a great reminder. I know Emily and I were talking the other day, and one of the things I know she's doing it, and I'm about to do it, is interview our parents,
Mm-hmm.
because we're always interviewing everybody else. But and it doesn't even have to be something that's public. It's just interviewing your parents. And we had my niece and my nephew, again, the little ones, they're just like whippersnappers, and they interviewed my mom and dad on their anniversary 2 weeks ago, on their 52nd
Oh,
wedding anniversary. And the questions they came up with, I was like, I think I need to go to your journalism school. It was just like, it was just, and it was just slaying. So I really love that, and I'm grateful for your parents for what they've instilled in you.
yeah, and even with your niece and nephew, and this is another whole other conversation I have with Dio, and in terms of documenting our history. And I want to talk about our history. I'm talking about Caribbeans that came here
Yes.
in Canada. We aren't doing that. And so even what they're doing is the oral, documentation that they have, right? Like I know Dio recorded her grandmother. Like these stories, we have to collect them and we have to preserve them. We have to archive them so that they can be passed on, so that people know we existed and what we contributed, to this country, right? And there are people that came here and have done so much, and people don't know what they've done.
And we think we have all this time, and if one of the lessons we can learn from last year is that time is not holding on to anyone. If you don't seize the moment right now, and we love to give people their flowers when they're gone. And this is part of, like, no, I'm giving you your flowers now, 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 now.
Well,
So
it's even more. Sorry, I was going to say it's even more
go ahead.
difficult to do it well now because we're not even able to grieve properly, and to go to a funeral. And there are people who have passed that I, would have liked to, attended and
Yeah,
pay respects, and we're doing everything virtually or not at all. So you can't even give people their proper flowers or proper send off.
yeah. And that's really one of the hardest parts of, I think, of this COVID-19, whatever. And now we're in 2020, 21, whatever you want to call it. It's going to be here for a while. So just switching gears for a quick second.
Mhm.
Was journalism your first love, or was there something else that you were into before you got into the field of journalism?
I guess you could call it my first love. I didn't know it at the time. I did know that I wanted to do something in television. I didn't know that I liked to write. I was very into creative writing and writing stories. And I knew that I was fascinated with television and those people in the box and how did they get in there and how does this whole thing work?
Yeah.
Right? you know, right? So how do I get to be a part of that, right? And so I when I finished high school, and I thought about, like, I did really well in law. I thought about becoming a lawyer.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean it was a law class, so I wasn't sure, but I just did really well. I was like, oh, maybe I should be a lawyer. It wasn't that I was passionate about it, right? But I just was like, okay, what am I going to do? But I felt like journalism was pulling me, and I did. I applied to Carleton for their journalism program, for the 4-year program, and then I applied to U of T, and I applied to York. So, as you can tell, I like my parents, so I didn't really want to leave home. No, but I also was feeling with Carleton, I was
Yeah.
concerned about, like, having my options limited. So if I went there and I did a journalism degree, or I started and I didn't like it, then I was kind of stuck, right?
Yeah.
Or I kind of wasted a couple of years. So I wanted to keep my options open. And then I got a scholarship to York, but it was on, you know, all the way over there. So I decided to go to UT, I went to the Scarborough campus, which was closer. But when I went there and I was, you know, going to school there, I still was writing for the school paper, you know, for the varsity and the underground. And then I was the radio program director. I had my own radio show. I was playing like my dad's oldie records and stuff. And so I knew media was still pulling at me. There was no television component there.
Yeah.
And so then I think maybe around my second year, I was like, okay, I think this is what I want to do. And I looked into postgraduate programs. And so I looked at Western, I looked at Ryerson, a couple other ones. And then I decided to apply to Ryerson. And so that program, which is a graduate journalism program, which is now, at the time was Polytechnical, so now it's a university, so it's a master's program. And that program, they only accept 60 people. So it's, and 700 people from across Canada apply.
Wow.
So here's the thing, I applied and this, you know, you have to write like an essay, you have to do a current events test, you have to do an interview. And it wasn't until I got in the first day, and the person that turned out who interviewed me was the dean of the school. And so I was like, okay, I had to like make it the hardest thing possible to get into this program. So I got in and it was great. It was a great program, and you do sort of everything in the first year, but in the second year you kind of stream, and I just picked everything television. So I knew I was bitten, and I knew that's what I wanted to do. And you learn everything, camera, editing, on camera, producing, writing. And I still at that point didn't know I wanted to be a producer, because I didn't even know what a producer was.
Yeah.
I still was like everybody else in journalism school. I wanted to be a reporter, because that's what you know. That's what you see on TV. You don't know about everything that goes on in the background. And so when I finished, of course, you know, I thought I was hot stuff and I was going to get a job.
You are hard stuff. They just didn't know how hot you were.
I was gonna get scooped up and be reporting for, you know, City or CTV, whatever. And I got like rejection letter after rejection letter. We'll keep you on file. And but even then, I was bitten by the entrepreneurial bug. And I think it's entrepreneurial, and it's also being of Caribbean heritage, where you just have to have like 3 or 4 things going on.
Yeah. Totally.
So I was doing PR for like community organizations. Like one of the first organizations I did was for the Sickle Cell Association of Ontario. And so the skills I had learned in school, I was trying to apply them where I could in the community. To also, and this is something I would tell my students, to get experience, right? So then I can say I did this event or I did that, and I'm doing this for free. So there's not the pressure of, I'm going to get fired, because they're grateful that they have me doing this, right? So I was doing that for about a year, and then I had a little summer editorial assistant position at CTV National. And then I started, and I was also volunteering on the side at CityTV. One of my mentors, Jojo Chinto, he would me down, and I would go in and, you know, basically just suck up the atmosphere and, you know, practice writing and get feedback and whatnot. So there was an opening for a writer on breakfast television. And again, this is another lesson that I try to tell me when I was teaching my students, right? Like, there are certainly times, and there were times where I'm like, what am I doing here? This is a waste of time. I'm not going to get a job. Nobody's even paying attention to me. I'm just in the way. All of these things, right? But the thing is that, and this was, you know, the advice that Joe had given me, was that you need to be in the line of sight. So you have to be in that space so that when an opportunity comes up, then you're called upon, right? They think about you, right? You're someone that they're familiar with. And so when the opportunity came up for a position at Breakfast Television Writing, and it was a part-time position, Nicole, it wasn't a full-time position. And I was offered the position, or I was told to apply for the position, and I got it. It was literally, I started work at 4 a.m. and I finished at 9. And so I would have to get up. I was living in Scarborough at the time, like around, 2:33. and it was just me and the police on the DVP. And because I started in October, and so it was like all through, through November, the snow, and I'm like, and you're like, the light, where's the light at the end of this tunnel? What am I doing? And so I would get up and I would write for breakfast television, and I can talk about that whole aspect of trying to work in the middle of the night, right, and have your brain functioning, and then on the number one morning show for like the biggest business. I was writing for Kevin Frankish. No pressure. And it was myself and like, 4 other white guys. This was my mornings. And then I would finish, and I was the senior editor at Pride newspaper. So then I would leave City at 9, and then I would drive up to Scarborough, and I'd work on the paper until about 2:30 or 3. And then I would go home and I'd fall asleep, and I would do it all again. And so that's how I started. And then I only was part-time until about February for a few months. And then they offered me a full-time writing for the 6 o'clock and 11 o'clock news. And then the rest is history.
This is why you have such a good work ethic. You got it like foundation. Your foundation is deep. Seriously deep.
Yeah, very deep. Well, like I said, my parents were both very hardworking. My mother was a nurse, and so she used to do like the 12-hour shifts, and that kind of schedule. And so I saw it, right? And not to say that they didn't have, we had family vacations, and we got to do things, but that was the result of hard work. We couldn't have done those things if they weren't working hard.
So what did you find were like the pro and cons of working in that arena, that time?
Sorry, what did I find?
Were your pro and cons, like you give me one or two.
Working in which arena?
The arena of television and getting up that early and you were working 2 jobs.
Yeah. I did that periodically when I was teaching. You mentioned that I was teaching at Centennial. I was working at City at the same time. So I'd finish work, and then when I took the position, because what my mindset was like, okay, I wanted to get this experience teaching. I wanted to have a plan B for later down the road so that I could say I taught in case I wanted to go back into that. So let me do this. So at first it was part-time. It was twice a week. Mm-hmm. And so I would skip my lunch so that I could leave early so that I could go and teach for 3 hours. So it was a 3-hour course, right? So I would teach from, I think, maybe 4 to 7 or something like that. And they actually adjusted the schedule for me. They didn't really have classes that late, but they wanted me, so they worked around my schedule. And then it kind of got crazy. It just, the classes, there was more and more, like as I progressed, they added more classes to the program. So then by the end of it, I was teaching 3 times a week.
Wow.
And 2 different classes, and the classes were bigger. So it was a lot. But then by the end of it, I was working at Canada AM. And so I would start work at 3 a.m. and I would finish at 11. I would drive to Centennial, maybe take a half-hour lie in my car. And then I would teach from about 12 to 3. Then I would go home, and then my kids would be home from school. And then I would take care of them, and then I would go to sleep and do it all over again. So
there's a song that's running through my head right now. If I could sing it, "You Are My Superwoman." Yeah, for sure.
But the pros and cons were that I was able to do that, right? That I was able to, because of the early morning hours. Number one, I was able to do those kind of things, those opportunities, right? And get that under my belt. And also it worked for my family, right? Because my kids were so young, so that I would be there for them. And when I wasn't teaching, right, I could bring them a hot lunch, because I finished work at 11. So I'd bring them lunch at school. And then when they were finished school at 3:30 or 4, whatever, and I had taken my nap in that period, then they'd come home and I could be there for them. I could take them to whatever extracurricular activity they had. I could go to their basketball game or their soccer game. I had weekends off, which was unheard of in my industry, but I was morning show Monday to Friday. So I could do things with them on the weekend. So it worked for them. And they were young enough that basically when they were going to bed, I was going to bed. So it all kind of worked out for that period.
I really love it because I think of so many lessons that you learn along the way and they learn along the way as they watch you, and then I see the generational shift and the generational transformation that was happening from your mom to you to and to them. So
Mm-hmm.
that's really interesting to look at. And when I think about the space now of back then and now, was there anything different for you as a Black woman in that space? Because I'm sure inquiring minds want to know out in listening land. What was it like to be? Because I don't know. I don't want to make any assumptions because sometimes, it could be a nice experience. It could be an easy experience. But what was it like for you?
It was a combination. I was lucky that I started at City, which was a very multicultural
Mm.
station, right? So there was definitely people that looked like me in the room. I wasn't the only one. Um, so that helped. And so there was supports in there. There was, like I said, JoJo, there was Dwight,
Yeah.
that, we're still extremely good friends, like very supportive. If there was things that were happening, and subsequently when I was a candidate, MRC, right? So it was good in that sense, but definitely, for example, with my first job, very intimidating. I mean, I'm like 24, right, or something like that, 20 to 24, and I'm now, like I said, like it was the three white guys who were writers, and then another white guy who was a producer, and me. So that was my work environment, right? And sometimes it was a different time in terms of HR. So
Yeah.
there is a lot. There was a lot. There's a lot of profanity. There's a lot of
Yeah.
politically incorrect things said. There was a lot of behavior that wouldn't be tolerated today, and you kind of had to just suck it up, right? If you wanted to keep your job, or you wanted to, progress, or you wanted to, move on in this industry, right? So, I definitely had those experiences. I definitely had, one particular experience where I was told, like, I basically got my position because I checked two boxes, not that I'm a good writer, but, I'm Black and I'm a woman, so that works. And, the irony of that, and I don't, I've told this a couple of times. I shouldn't keep telling the story, but the irony of that situation is the person who told me that many years later, I ended up hiring that person. So, some people would have held a grudge, right? I didn't. He was at a low point and he was laid off and he needed a job. And so I could help him and I helped him, right? And so, but I knew why I got the job. So what he said I didn't second guess myself, right? Because again, going back to my parents, because I come from a strong foundation. I know who I am, right? I'm comfortable in my skin. I have no inhibitions or concerns or lack of confidence about what I'm doing. And I had another incident, and I actually went to my father for advice many, many years later, where I was working with a man, and he's since passed away, but he was horrible to me, like
Mm.
horrible to me, and just wouldn't let up. Every day was just tormenting me, and to the point that other people noticed within the newsroom and pulled me aside and said, "Do you want me to say something?" Right?
Hmm.
No, right? And I, did my job. I did what I was supposed to do and everything like that. And I ended up getting his job.
See,
So,
these are powerful stories. And, and I know, if we had like 3 hours or so, we could probably delve into some stuff. But I think this is so good because especially as young women and are growing up and young men, can take offense so easily. And you were able to stay focused and knew who you were. And I love that. You knew who you were. You didn't have any, whether you were having a little this or a little that, you stayed focused, and then you had your parents and your dad to go back to solidify, nope, this is how you deal with it, this is, you focus on you walk with integrity. And that is a big lesson.
no, it is. And definitely in hindsight, now I'm really going through this phase right now. Nicole, I'm very deep into meditation and
Yeah.
retrospection about a lot of things. And so, this is the thing. There are people that are very toxic in this world
Mm-hmm.
and very unhappy. He was a very unhappy man, and he took it out on people that he could, and particularly women. I wasn't the only one. And
Right.
so, you have to not get sucked into that vortex. You have to not get pulled into those, to that whole, issue. My whole thing is I'm here to do a job. I'm not here to be best friends with anybody, right? I'm not here. I have a whole social life. This is not for me. For some people, unfortunately, work is their world.
Yeah.
For me, this was not my world, right? I had a very active social life, as you know, and I had a family life. And so I wasn't going to let that person pull me into their drama that they needed to create for themselves, right? And that was the key. And I didn't know that at the time, right? Now I realize that, what that was about, and that it wasn't about me, and that I clearly could do the job and his job
And
and my job.
don't let anybody steal your peace. Don't let anybody steal your joy. And hurting people hurt people. So you stay focused and do what you're called to do.
Exactly. And it's not an easy thing, right?
Yeah.
It's very hard because it's very tempting because there's a knee-jerk reaction when someone is lashes out at you or someone is hurtful or not nice or whatever it is that you want to respond. And so to step back and just sort of think, where is this coming from? What is going on with that person? What is their, upbringing, or where are they coming from? And separating yourself from that and realizing, they unfortunately can't help it. Right? This is where they are, right? And unless they have some self-realization about that, it's not going to change. And so, you can't take that on. You don't. I tell my favorite thing. My mom was laughing. Something happened, and I said, "I rebuke." Take it
Take it
back.
back. Take it back.
I'm not accepting it. Right? And so that's what you have to do when people try to start to unload
Yeah.
their stuff on you. Don't accept it.
And then, when I think about what you do and, you train people for media, I see now more and I understand more now the foundation and why you're able to be the woman that you are in the workspace that you're in. And so as I think about that, what made you know that it was time to start your company, FKB Media Solutions?
Well, first of all, my kids were grown and they
Mm,
didn't need me as much. So that was the number one thing that I suddenly had time on my hands. Right. So that was number one. Number two was that I didn't really feel challenged anymore in my job. Like I
wow.
could do it very easily. I could do it while doing other things, which is never a good thing. I could do it while half asleep. I could do it, it was just not very challenging to me, right? So that was the second thing. And then the third thing was that I started to think about my future.
Mm,
I want to be doing this, into my sunset years. This is what I wanted to be doing. I actually had a job coach as well that helped me to sort of focus.
oh,
And
okay.
and so, and this is the thing too, Nicole, that I advise people to do. Like, you can't have the answers to everything, even though you think you do, right? So, ask other people, get other input, get a professional's input, right? If you're having an issue or you're struggling, talk to a therapist, talk to a
Yes.
counselor,
Yes.
somebody. So, yeah, I had a job coach, and it wasn't that I was enlightened either. I was not going to do it. And it was someone else, my financial advisor, who advised me, right? Because he went through the process and he was like, it was very helpful for him deciding for what he wanted to do. So I was like, okay, I'm pretty open-minded, so let me try it. It can't hurt, right? And so you do all these kind of little tests and figure out what your risk factor,
Yeah.
how your risk is to things and what you envision. And it always came back to, and that's why I said the earlier story from when I finished school, it came back to like, at heart, I'm an entrepreneur. Like even when I was working at City, I don't think I knew that time. I was managing an artist. I was managing a number of R&B artists as well as working as a writer.
We've known each other because, we were I was in the urban music space too.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
do you remember Camille Douglas?
Yeah.
I was her manager.
Wow.
So yeah, I was managing her. I was doing stuff with Carlos Morgan. I was doing stuff
Yes.
with Lewis. Yeah, I was in that whole little scene. But I was also like, I would finish writing or producing at City, and we were down at Queen West. So I'd finish like at 11:30, and then I'd be out like handing out flyers for their next show or whatever, or hustling or going to showcases. So I was always in me. And so that was just the thing. I was like, you know what? I want to really give this entrepreneur thing a shot, while I still had my faculties about me and my energy. And, I also tell people, like, the thing, it didn't irk me, but it kind of bothered me, was that, at the end of, they don't do it anymore, but, back in the day at City and whatnot, you'd see the credits, and at the end, it's like, whether it's Moses Neimer's name on it or it's Bell Media's name on it, it's like, but I did it, right?
Yeah.
I'm the one who produced the show. So I'm like, if they're gonna bet on me, why wouldn't I bet on me? If they're if they're relying on me to do their, whatever big production or their, political show or their talk show, why can't I just do that for myself? And why can't I reap the benefits of that?
I love that, betting on yourself. So tell us about FKB Media Solutions and what you're doing, because I know what I'm seeing, but I think people need to know what you're doing, and like even some of the courses that you've offered some free webinars. You're just like, and you have some amazing clients. Come on, talk, tell us.
Well, the funny thing is that when I was the last stop I had was CTV News Channel, and so when I was there, that's when I decided I was going to leave, and so I was starting to do stuff on the side for clients, and I wasn't fully established. I think I had registered, but I hadn't really started my business. I was just doing these things, and it just got to be a lot, right? Like I couldn't do both. Right? When I used to be doing, both with everything else, right? Yeah. I really actually had a lot of people asking me to do stuff, and it just didn't work with my schedule, because I try to be like making calls, in between like stuff, and it wasn't going to work, right? So I had to give my notice. And so when I left, it was just go. Right. So I was doing like publicity, I was doing PR, which is what usually gets most of the shine. Right. But I was also trying to offer media workshops, media literacy, which was, I had taught. So sort of media literacy workshops for schools and anybody who wanted to bring that into their workspace. And I was doing live stream production, and I was doing some television production. So it's kind of things that, and writing, ghostwriting, and copy editing. So it's sort of all the things that the skills I had amassed over the last 20 odd years that I was offering in my business. And so I didn't realize it, because I really didn't do any market research, but there was a need in the community for someone to do these things, right? And someone people felt comfortable with, and someone who had the experience, particularly with mainstream media, to know how to get a story on the news or on a show or etc. So that was how I was going for like 2 years, and I was going like a what did it say, a hamster on the wheel, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And everything was happening, and so I had former NBA player, now coach, Damon Stoudemire as a client, Francis Ann Solomon, who's a director and a member of the Academy, as a client, and oh my gosh, I've had so many clients. It's the list goes on. The Black Diamond Ball, and so I was just going from thing to thing to thing. And so it was last year I just decided around maybe October-ish, because I felt like first of all, it was a lot, right? And I felt like I didn't have my business organized and focused into what I wanted to do, right? And the first thing was definitely like my website, which I felt was just like a placeholder. And I wanted it to be more than that. And that was where I started my rethink and my rebrand of what I wanted to do in 2021 and what I wanted to really focus on, because now I had done, like I was doing things sometimes, Nicole, because I could do them, not necessarily that I offered the service, right? because well, you can do it, and I was like, yeah, I can. Okay, I'll pay you as much, and then I did it, right? But it wasn't part of my business. So I had to, when I was talking about boundaries, I had to learn to say no to certain things, even though I could do it, because then I was taking away from the things that I should have been focusing on, the services that I wanted to offer. So I took November and December, right? And I went in the kitchen and I cooked it all up, right? And I came back out in January more focused on what it is that my business is and what it is. That's a long-winded way to get to what it is and what my business is about, just so you understand sort of where I'm at now, right? Because it certainly isn't what I was doing last year. So yes, a lot of people now are seeing me out front and center, which is a big change for me.
And the fact that you're doing an interview, I'm loving it.
Yeah. But there is a saying, right, that change, anytime change is uncomfortable, it's good. That means you're doing something, right? So you get out of the comfort zone and try to do new things. So I'm getting out there and I'm doing these webinars, like you attended one of them, I believe, and so yes. I started doing that. So that was one of the things I wanted to do with my website. And I wanted to, like, first of all, I felt like I'm paying for this website. This website needs to pay for itself. So it has to generate money, right? So let me start with housing my own webinars, right? And I have
so good. They're so good.
I have one coming up on April 7th, and that is the last free one. So
I'm registered.
So if you're interested, catch that one, because then after that, I'm going to start implementing a pay, and it's not going to be ridiculous, but it is going to have. I can't keep giving away information for free, right? So I have to put a value on it. So that was one area that I wanted to focus on. Workshop, the media workshops. I wasn't really doing as many as I had hoped, because I wasn't really positioning myself as an expert as I do with my clients, right? I do it for my clients, but I wasn't doing it for myself. So that is why I'm doing more publicizing my blog that I write every month, right? Which gives a lot of good ideas, right, to people who want to get media coverage. And it's kind of like a case study on clients that I do. I do my 60 seconds with FKB, and that's once a month. And I give a media tip there. And as I mentioned, the webinar.
You pack a lot into that 60 seconds. I don't even know how you do it.
Yeah, so that aspect has changed, right? I'm still doing the PR, but I'm very, very narrow focused on that, like more so events. And I have a couple of clients, Jillian, Auntie Jillian, like her own retainer, and Francis and that I manage, right? And then I have what I call the Find an Expert page, which I'm cultivating on my website. So this is for media houses who claim they can't find people, Black people, for different things. So they can go to my website, and that information is up there if you want to book them, and they'd be media trained through me, so you're getting someone who knows what they're doing. And I'm also pitching those people and getting them opportunities wherever possible. So that was where I was focusing more, like narrowing down my stuff on my website so that it's clear what I'm doing. And I'm doing media acquisition, and I'm doing media sponsorship, media sponsorship acquisition, and live stream production and television production. So that is going to grow into another.
This is a conglomerate.
Yeah, which will be FKB Media Productions Inc., right? And so that's being registered. And so down the line, when I have a second, I'm going to start building that part of my
register it and just hold it there until it's time to bring it forward.
Yeah. So that's the big vision, right? So I had to sit down and think about, okay, what is it? Where is this company going? What is it going to do? I have 2 employees now, which is new for me as well. So I'm literally a boss. And so, that whole aspect of, assigning work and making sure it's done, and, all those sort of things, and training people is a new thing for me as well. I mean, I did that at, and not roll out in the newsrooms or whatnot, but have them responsible.
Now it's yours with your name on it, and you're getting the credit for the work that you've always been doing.
Yes, exactly.
Listen, I'm going to tell you a secret. Leaning close. Wait, before I tell you the secret, what is Danny Stone saying here? Fennella has me tired with everything she was doing. And Wendy Jones is like, say, thanks. That's true. Put a value on it. And it's so true, because we don't like to put a value on it. It's one of the big lessons I'm learning. But you're on my vision board. On my vision board, for that day when because I really believe in being able to pay people their value. And if I can't afford somebody, I'm like, it's not that I don't want to do business with you. And I think that's sometimes what people don't realize. It's not that we don't always want to do business with somebody, that we want to be able to pay them for what it is. Because
Mhm.
we know we come from the world where we know where people have can I, and nobody pays you what you need. And I mean, I've been around you for I started to think about it. It could be over 20 years. Jesus, I'm aging us right here. Wow.
Well, I
So
was just a teenager, Nicole. I don't know how old you were.
oh yeah, I was a teenager myself. I blame Joan Pierre for all of these beautiful interactions. It's a great interactions. So I know our time is running out. Oh Jesus, I have so much more for Fenella. So much more. You know, um, here's something. If
Mhm.
you could go to dinner with one person, who would it be and why?
um,
Besides your parents and your sister and your brother, okay, and your family. Besides family, who would it be?
no, no, it would be someone in family.
I know it would be. Who would that person be?
It would be my daughter. It would be my daughter
Ooh, okay.
because she lives in British Columbia. I haven't seen her since last year Christmas, not this past Christmas, the year before.
Wow.
Um, was it? No, sorry. I haven't seen her since it's such a blur. This pandemic has everything blurred. Okay, let me think about this. No, I haven't seen her since September. I lie because
Wow.
I had a whole block. I wasn't actually here for the pandemic. I was in Florida, so I have a whole
I
block.
remember this is I wore this for you today. I was like, sunny day.
I
Sunny
know.
day.
Trust me, I wish I was there.
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen her since September. And this is the longest that we have been like
Oh,
separated like this. So I miss her dearly, and I think I would like to have if I'm going to pull that card, it's going to be with her because I would I'd love to see her.
so remember that question I asked you earlier? What is one thing people don't know about you?
Mhm.
One of the answers is how sentimental you are. Because you know you're the boss lady and you're serious, and when Fenella's doing her stuff, it's go get it. But it's that sentimental, soft, compassionate side of you that is so wrapped in this warmth. I just so love it. Any good books you're reading right now?
I wish, Nicole. I wish I had time. I had this
What's
card.
on the bookshelf that you want to read? I have about six. No, I have about 20.
No, you know what? I was in a book club up to last year, and I loved it because it forced me to set aside that time to read. And it's since on hiatus, so I haven't been doing it since when did it go on break? Over the summer, I think. We didn't start up again in September. And however, I would have to say that I don't have time.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
honestly don't have time. I wish that I did, and maybe when I go on vacation, that's when I do read. But on a daily basis, um, I'm what is it? I'm the head cook and the bottle washer.
I keep putting them all. Listen, the books are there, and I keep shuffling them around, and then my dad keeps taking them. He goes, "Yeah, this was a really good book." Like
Yeah.
he read Marcy Ian's book in like 2 3 days. He's like, "This is a good book." I couldn't put it down. I'm like, "Well, I haven't even read it yet." He read as soon as it came in the house. He read it. Listen, Sarah Oyango is like, "We need a part two." Girl, I know. I agree because she's so rich and she has all this wisdom that is just oozing out of her. That I think the world really needs your wisdom. You have so much to offer, and the foundations you have shared just today. Um, I know I'm going to go back to the podcast and be listening, the show, and be listening and writing down some stuff because it reminds me of the values that we need to even put down for ourselves and some of the things that we take for granted. And what would you say to anyone out there? What advice you want to give? What are some of your last words you want to share? It's International Women's Day. It could be about Black history. It could be about life. It could be about crocodiles. I don't care. What would you want to say to the world out there from Fennella Bruce? Because I don't know when I'm getting you back here.
You know what? What?
I don't know when I'm going to get you back here.
Oh. Well, I would say this. One of the motivational people that I listen to is a woman named Louise Hay. Are you familiar with her? And so she has one of her talks. She talks about relationships,
Mm-hmm.
and she starts off not where I think where she's going with this. She says, relationships, right? The most important relationship that you ever have in your life, and the longest one you'll ever have, is with yourself.
Yes.
And so you need to examine that relationship and um, work on that relationship before you work on relationships with anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Because once that relationship with yourself is sorted out, and when I say sorted out, that means that you're fine saying to yourself in the mirror, I love you, that you love
Yes.
yourself, that you're happy, like truly happy, that you are blessed, that you feel blessed when you wake up every morning and you can count your blessings, that you can breathe and you can walk and you can eat and you have shelter, right? So take that time to really get to know yourself, to love yourself, to romance yourself. I buy myself fresh flowers every week for myself because they make me happy. When I see them on my desk, they make me smile,
Yes.
right? It brings light into my life. So look at those things. I have self-care Sundays. So that's, all about me. And I do my nails and I do my facial and I do my hair and mask and all that kind of stuff. And I
Love
just
it.
I just take care of myself, right? And, so once you do that, your whole entire world will change. Your relationships with other people will change. You will bring people, positive people towards you, right? The negative people will be rebuked because people want to be around people who are happy.
They can't be in the light. Yeah.
They don't want to be around people who are doing things, who have
Yes.
goals or who are something happening. So those people will filter out of your life because they will be envious and jealous and they don't want to be around you. And you'll be pulling the positivity towards you. So, I think that that's where it all starts. And once you do that, everything will change.
I just love that. And you see the piece about the mirror and telling yourself I love you. It's one of the exercises I've done with clients. And it's people think that's so easy to do. But if you ever have to go look for eye to eye and say, I love you, and say your name. I love you, Nicole. That is one of the hardest things and then that's really, really know if you really
Hmm.
love yourself. And you
Yeah,
can
it's
look at all
it's
of
right
you.
there.
And you got to do it naked too.
Yeah, and if you have a problem doing that, then you need to sit down and wonder and figure out why. Where is
Hmm.
that coming from? And usually, I'm not trying to be all like a whole therapist here, but usually it's coming from your upbringing. It's coming from
Yeah.
your parenting. It's coming from your home. That's where it's starting, right? You have to go back, figure out what it is,
Mhm.
deal with what it is. And one of the other tips that Louise says is that you need to release things,
Mhm.
bless them, and release it.
Yeah.
Things that you can't change, right? That's what Maya Angelou used to say.
Yeah.
Um, if you can't change something, change how you think about it.
Yes. Perspective. Yep. And I love the perspective. And I say, a lot of people use the P word last year, pivot, but don't pivot if you don't have the perspective. And when
Mm-hmm.
you get the perspective, but first it really sometimes comes out of pain, you find purpose, you find a perspective, and then you pivot. And I
Mm-hmm.
love how you pivoted into FKB Media Solutions. I love what you're doing. I can't wait to see more of it. And I'm saying anybody who's looking for, listen, it's a plethora of things that I can't just call it all out here. If it would take me another 5 hot minutes to tell you everything Fennella is doing with her company. Um, and Wendy Jones says, have to celebrate yourself with love. Yes, we do. And I just want to thank everybody for tuning in today. Fenella, I just want to thank you for taking the time and for showing me your love and for coming on. I admire you. I still do. You're one of my sheroes. I love what you're doing with your company. I love how you're elevating people in the community and outside of the community and showing people how to be great and how to deal with media and do your media training and and everything else. And I'm looking forward to your books, Danny. I know Danny. I know Mr. Danny Stone is probably on there, and I'm sure he's telling you like, and Fennella, you got to do that e-course, right? You got to do that e-courses. So I know you got some people in the back of you there cheering you on to do some stuff.
So you've heard of the law of threes, right?
Yes, yes.
Well, you're now the third person who's talking about
Amen to that. Yeah.
I'm not doing it. Listen, my story is, I don't even know where to start. It's because we've really just scratched the surface. Like there's so much more that I could talk on and speak on that.
Let me put this back up for you again, just in case you. Because listen, I know you got to go in a hot minute, but I'm just going to keep you a hot minute longer and be a little disobedient. I remember like this morning, like Coach Danny, and he started his room on Clubhouse. He started his club on Clubhouse this morning. I started mine too. But I was like, oh God, I don't feel like doing a room today. And Danny did a room this morning at 9 a.m. And I don't do meetings before 10 unless I have to. It's my self-care time. But I went into the room and it was so powerful. And it was the stories that were being shared that were empowering people. And you just heard some people, and it wasn't a big room, but it motivated people to just jumpstart again their day and really feel life. It was like for that, it was a different vitamin D. The vitamin D was Danny's doing his room. And so your story and the little that you shared with us so far has been so impactful about talking about value and foundation and family and all the different things. And you've left out at least 80% of your story. The world needs to hear your story because it's not just for you, it's for those that are coming up after you. And you know this. I'm not preaching to I'm preaching to the choir. You know this because you tell people this and the importance of their story every day. So now you have to like practice what you teach.
Nicole, I don't have time to write a book.
Well, that's why you can get a ghostwriter to help you write the book. Get your own ghostwriter. Rick, we're going to pray that you're going to get the time, that you're going to get that tape recorder, and you're just going to start recording the chapters of the book and just get somebody to transcribe it for you, and then you can finalize it. Right.
Listen to you. You got the whole plan for me.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to sit down with some of your friends. I'm gonna call on the people and sit down with some people that I know that you know, and we'll be the sisterhood and the brotherhood coming up behind you saying, okay, what do you need? You take this chapter, I take this. We're gonna get this book done. We're gonna get this book done. And if not, we're just gonna do another interview and just extrapolate it out of you, and somebody's gonna just transcribe the interview. How is that? Okay.
You know what? I'll write the book. I will write the book when I retire. Then I'll write the book. I can't do the book now. There's so much stuff I still have to do.
But do you think it's one book? Hilarious. She thinks it's one book. Okay, she thinks it's one book. This is hilarious. She thinks it's one book. Oh my God. This is hilarious. You have the professional book and then there's a personal book. But FKB Media Solutions has a book. And it's going to be the solutions that people need.
Oh my gosh. Are you my publicist, Nicole?
I want you to be mine. That's why you're on my vision board. So, you can swap,
I don't have a book on my vision board.
Yeah, but I have one for you. So and I know I have some people that would be snapping their fingers right there with me if they were listening online. But I won't pressure you anymore. I know you're busy, but I know the wealth of the information that you have to give. So from all those courses that you're going to teach, I'll tell you like what Coach Danny told me. Mm-hmm. That's going to be the information for your book. You're going to be teaching it, and then it's just going to be easy for somebody to help you transcribe it for you. That's all I got to say. Any last words, Fennella, before I let you go and do your self-care and your family meeting and debrief for the day on this beautiful International Women's Day? The challenge. Hey!
Well, you know what? This time actually really did zoom by. It was a lot of fun, Nicole. You're doing a great job. It was very easy talking to you. And so I do see everything. I see you, sis, all that you're doing, and keep it up. I think it's great. And you're putting yourself out there, right? And going and trying something that is all new to you, and it's a learning process. And this is a thing, like I said, people sit on the sidelines and might say this or that about what you're doing. But the people who are saying that are not doing anything. And
Right.
that is always the truth. The people who want to give you advice don't have a business, but they want to tell you how to run your business, right? The people who want to tell you, whatever about how what you're wearing, don't have any, fashion sense themselves. So, this is the thing. This is a tip from journalism, right?
Yeah.
Always check the source. I'm
Mm,
not saying you don't take criticism or you don't take advice, but look at the source of where it's coming from before you accept it, and make sure that it's coming from a good place, and it's coming from somebody who knows. Who someone's going to give me money advice and they don't have any money. I'm not taking that person's
yeah. Yeah.
advice.
Yeah.
They're always broke. Why would I take your
Yeah.
advice?
Yeah.
So,
True.
that's one of the things I try to keep in mind when I get all kinds of advice unsolicited, particularly from men. And so,
Yes. Look at the source. Yeah.
check the source before you take it in, right? And it's easy to let people get in your head and throw you off your game. But one of the things that you asked me before we started about a quote, and I went back way back to when I was in high school, and I had one of those wipe off boards in my locker, and on it I wrote, obstacles only occur when you take your eyes off the goal.
Mm, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
And it's the truth. I purposely have the word solutions in my company name because that's what I'm about. So, there's a saying, don't bring me your problem, bring me a solution. Like, don't come and tell me what, I can't find this or can't find that. And then you're looking to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, right? You need
Yeah.
to find a solution. So I do find the solutions for people's issues, but that's what I'm all about, is solutions. I'm not about problems. I'm always about solutions.
I love that. I'm always about solutions. And I think if we, even that's even a nugget to just approaching life. If I just look at everything and the hearts are coming up, the hearts are coming up on seeing it on my Facebook. Phew, it was like one of those light bulbs. Look at the solutions in life. When you get up in the morning, what is the solution for what I'm about to face this day? That is a bing bing one. And the focus piece, I really love that because one of the people I look to, and not because they did everything right or wrong, it's really three people. I looked at Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, and Oprah. And the reason I looked at them was that Barack Obama and they all had the same thing. They stayed focused because he was elected, he was inaugurated, and the next day they were like coming for him like a pack of wolves. But he didn't shift, even if they were feeling it. And you see it in the book. They stayed focused on, this is what I'm here to do, and I'm working on the solution. And that for me is sometimes what keeps me. When Oprah said she changed from doing her talk show, being the Oprah for so long, and when the company was having trouble, the same people that were celebrating her were pulling her down, but none of
Mhm.
them ever owned a network. So when you say check the source of the people giving you advice,
Mhm.
that is so. Listen, I'm going to take that. That is going on the vision board.
Mhm. No,
I'm going to write that on the vision board tonight. Yeah.
yeah, always, because you have to, not everybody's motive is genuine, right? Not everybody wants the best for you, even though even your friends, even though they may seem to say that, right?
Proof is in the pudding.
Say that, but and again, like, sometimes it's not something that they can help, right? It comes back to themselves, right? So they may think that, oh, they're giving you advice or whatever, but it's about where it's coming from, whether it's
The
coming from.
intention, the intention behind
Exactly.
the advice. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Or if it's coming from a sabotage kind of place.
Yep. Yep. And I really love that. And it's so hard. I always tell people like my core is my fist, and I still might have change to give you. of the people that can be in that inner core, that I know that
Yeah.
if they had to tell me something, oh, your lipstick is off kilter, they're not telling it to me. They tell me because when I come on camera, Nicole, I need you to look tight
Hmm.
because I want you to be the best Nicole you can be. That top today, that jeans today, nope, that didn't work. That color today didn't work. Not because, and I really appreciate even your words to me tonight because hearing that from you, and I'm like, I didn't bring any tissues, so I better not cry. Um, that would be really like, I'll be like, okay, that coming from you means a lot because you are an expert in your field, but you don't just say words because you want to say words, and you don't just throw compliments because you want to. When you give somebody a compliment, I know it's from the heart. So I really appreciate that. That has warmed my heart and made my made my day.
Well, I'm glad. And as it's International Women's Day, right? Let's leave it on this note, right? Because I do think that as women,
Mm,
right, we need to uplift each other and we need to support each other. It's hard enough, right? And so, when you're talking about, someone's telling you about your lipstick, I will watch people that I know, anchors or whatnot, and I've texted them, hey, this is whatever, like
yeah.
your top is a little low. Like the director is not telling them, in the control room, right? They're not looking out for their best interest. They don't care, right? But I'm going to tell you, right? And I'm at home. I have no skin in the game, but I'm your friend, and that's why I'm telling you, right? So you have to, support other women. And what I didn't even notice it, somebody pointed out to me that like the majority of my clients are women. It's not even intentional, like that
Yeah.
I'm gonna do. But the thing is that I do like uplifting women and showing that we are doing great things and that we are quite capable. And so, it's not that I don't love our brothers and I don't have a problem. I have no problem doing that. But, I have a sisterhood, right? That I'm trying
Mhm.
to nurture and make sure that we're good. So, on this day, like I think it's so important. It's so important for the young women coming up to see that kind of role modeling. I worry sometimes when I see the things that I see on social media and reality TV and stuff, and how we're still portraying ourselves, right, as Black women,
Mhm.
particularly,
Mhm.
right? That, um, we need to sort of keep the positive role models like yourself, like Joan, like Dio, like, and keep doing
Yes.
those things to show that you don't have to, be ratchet and you don't have to,
Mm,
just be on there, talking nonsense or whatever, or being selling yourself sexually or whatever. There's other
yes.
ways to put yourself out there and make money legitimately, right? And for the right reason.
Yeah, I love it. And thank you for the advice. Thank you. And thank you for staying a little extra time with me tonight.
You're welcome.
I appreciate you. And for all those of you who are watching live and on the replay, I really hope that you enjoyed tonight's show. My guest was Fennella Bruce, FKB Media. Follow her at FKB Media on all social media platforms. Visit her website. You know, she is supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, and she cannot have too many clients. She just have to hire more staff to help her navigate the space, right? I'm going to put you back on screen. Right, Fernanda? You just have to hire more staff
Oh
and
yeah,
get
okay.
all those million-dollar contracts coming in there. And, and don't do the black tax on her where you think, well, because she has this client that you can't afford her. Don't do that. Don't do that discrimination stuff. You check her out. You know the value of what you need. You get what you pay for. And if you want quality, you're going to get quality. So if you want a good solutions company to your media challenges, FKB Media. That's the group that you need to go to right now. Okay, I'm going to put you back on screen. Like the worst producer ever, Nicole. Um, but also, guess what? I'm having an extra show this week on Wednesday. Join me at 7 p.m. I'm going to have Jalisa Luces Mendez, and she's phenomenal. I'm going to put out some information about her tonight. She has her own company doing great stuff in on the entrepreneurial world. And if you want to see this again live and on the replay, share it with your friends, your family. Follow me on YouTube. And my YouTube channel is Victory Speaks 7. It's quite simple. And I invite you. to, share a little love today, share a little peace today. It's International Women's Day. It's the whole month. If you want to know more about Victory Speaks and the podcast, I have a podcast on Anchor, Spotify, anywhere you want to look at a podcast where I teach the Victory Speaks formula. And if you want to know more about that, hey, you got to tune into the podcast because it's totally different than the show. And you can follow me on Clubhouse on Victory Speaks. And I'm going to leave you with a quote. One act of kindness in a moment can change and save someone's life. Be part of the kindness revolution. And as we celebrate women, celebrate your strong history, celebrate your love, celebrate the love that brings you together. Take a moment, really, people, take that moment to look at yourself and find something you love about you. Do the gratitude box just for yourself and lift somebody up. And remember, all women are carriers of children. You came from a woman. So appreciate the woman in your life today, whether it's a mother, sister, a friend, whoever it is. Show the love and appreciate the woman in your life today. This is Nicole Karen Virginia Waldron, and I'm signing out. And I'm loving the fact that I had Fennella Bruce on today. Check us on the replay, people. Victory Speak 7 on YouTube, Victory Speak 77 on Facebook. Take care and let your victory speak.